Excuse me, sir. Is this Tondo, Manila? Yes, why? Do you have a problem with that? No! Hi, Psychmates! Psychmate Aaron here, and welcome to my channel. For this video, we will be talking about conduct disorder and pyromania. Before we start, let us know what is the basic concept of conduct disorder. According to National Children's Hospital, conduct disorder can be referred by a group of behavioral and emotional problems characterized by disregard of others. Their behavior is commonly seen as hostile and violent to others. Children with conduct disorder have difficulties in following rules and behave in a social manner. And according to Mental Health America, conduct disorder are common to boys than girls with 6 to 16 versus 2 to 9%. Now, how can we tell that a person has conduct disorder? Here is the diagnostic criteria for conduct disorder. A. A repetitive and persistent pattern of behavior in which the basic rights of other or major age-appropriate societal norms or rules are violated, as manifested by the presence of at least 3 of the following 15 criteria in the past 12 months from any of the categories below, with at least one criterion present in the past 6 months. First, we have aggression to people and animals. Number 1. Often bullies, threatens, or intimidates others. Number 2. Often initiates physical fights. Number 3. Has used a weapon that can cause serious physical harm to others. Number 4. Has been physically cruel to people. Number 5. Has been physically cruel to animals. Number 6. Has stolen while confronting a victim. And number 7. Has forced someone into sexual activity. Next is destruction of property. 8. Has deliberately engaged in fire setting with the intention of causing serious damage. Number 9. Has deliberately destroyed others' property. The third one is deceitfulness or theft. Number 10. Has broken into someone else's house, building, or car. Number 11. Often lies to obtain goods or favors or to avoid obligations. Number 12. Has stolen items of non-trivial value without confronting a victim. And lastly, for criteria A is serious violations of rules. Number 13. Often stays out at night despite parental prohibitions, beginning before age of 13 years. Number 14. Has run away from home overnight at least twice while living in the parental or parental surrogate home or once without returning for a lengthy period. Number 15. Is often truant from school beginning before age of 13 years. Criteria B. The disturbance in behavior causes clinically significant impairment in social, academic, or occupational functioning. Criteria C. If the individual is age 18 years or older, criteria are not met for antisocial personality disorder. We can specify it whether it is a childhood onset type, if individuals show at least one symptom characteristic of conduct disorder prior to age of 10 years. If adolescent onset type, individuals show no symptom characteristic of conduct disorder prior to age of 10 years. And if unspecified onset, criteria say diagnostic of conduct disorder are met, but there is not enough information available to determine whether the onset of the first symptom was before or after age of 10 years. The three subtypes of conduct disorder are provided based on the age at onset of the disorder. We can specify if, with limited prosocial emotions, if an individual displays at least two persistent characteristics over at least 12 months in multiple relationships and settings. Callous or lack of empathy. The individual is cold and uncaring, focusing on their actions' effects on themselves rather than others. Shallow or deficient affect. does not express feelings or show emotions to others, except in ways that seem shallow, insincere, or superficial, or when emotional expressions are used for gain. We can also specify its current severity. Mild. Few if any conduct problems in excess of those required to make the diagnosis are present, and conduct problems cause relatively minor harm to others. Moderate. The number of conduct problems and the effect on others are intermediate between those specified in mild and those in severe. Severe. Many conduct problems in excess of those required to make the diagnosis are present, or conduct problems cause considerably harm to others. Associated features supporting diagnosis, especially in ambiguous situations. Aggressive individuals with conduct disorder frequently misperceive the intentions of others as more hostile and threatening than in the case and respond with aggression that they then feel is reasonable and justified. Personality features of trait, negative emotionality, and poor self-control, including poor frustration tolerance, irritability, temper outbursts, suspiciousness, insensitivity to punishment, thrill-seeking, and recklessness, frequently co-occur with conduct disorder. Substance misuse is often an associated feature, particularly in adolescent females. Suicidal ideation, suicide attempts, and completed suicide occur at a higher than expected rate in individuals with conduct disorder. Prevalence. 1 year population prevalence estimates range from 2% to more than 10%, with a median of 4%. The prevalence of conduct disorder appears to be fairly consistent across various countries that differ in race and ethnicity. Prevalence. 1 year population prevalence estimates range from 2% to more than 10%, with a median of 4%. The prevalence of conduct disorder appears to be fairly consistent across various countries that differ in race and ethnicity. Prevalence rates rise from childhood to adolescence and are higher among males than among females. Few children with impairing conduct disorder receive treatment. Development and course. Conduct disorder can begin as early as preschool years, with the first significant symptoms usually emerging during middle childhood through middle adolescence. Oppositional defiant disorder is a common precursor to childhood onset conduct disorder. Physically aggressive symptoms are more common during childhood, but non-aggressive symptoms become more common during adolescence. Risk and prognostic factors. Here we have 4 factors. Temperamental. Temperamental risk factors include a difficult under-controlled infant temperament and lower than average intelligence, particularly with regard to verbal IQ. Environmental. Family-level risk factors include parental rejection and neglect, inconsistent child-rearing practices, harsh discipline, physical or sexual abuse, lack of supervision, early institutional living, frequent changes of caregivers, large family size, parental criminality, and certain kinds of familial psychopathology. Genetic and physiological. Conduct disorder is influenced by genetic and environmental factors, with increased risk in children with a biological or adoptive parent or sibling. Course modifiers. Persistence is more likely for individuals with behaviors that meet criteria for the childhood onset subtype and qualify for the specifier with limited prosocial emotions. Culture-related diagnostic issues. Conduct disorder diagnosis may at times be misapplied to individuals in settings where patterns of disruptive behaviors are viewed as near normative. Therefore, the context in which the undesirable behaviors have occurred should be considered. Sex and gender-related diagnostic issues. As I said earlier, boys are more susceptible than girls. Males with a diagnosis of conduct disorder frequently exhibit fighting, stealing, vandalism, and school discipline problems. Females with a diagnosis of conduct disorder are more likely to exhibit lying, truancy, running away, substance use, and prostitution. whereas males tend to exhibit both physical aggression and relational aggression. Females tend to exhibit relatively more relational aggression. Association with suicidal thoughts or behavior. Suicidal thoughts, suicide attempts, and suicide occur at a higher than expected rate in individuals with conduct disorder. A large study conducted in Taiwan that followed adolescents with conduct disorder over 10 years found that conduct disorder was associated with a higher rate of suicide attempts even after adjustment for comorbid mood, anxiety, and substance use disorders. Now, let's move on to the differential diagnosis. If we look at conduct disorder as general, we may find it similar to other disorders, but if we look closely, we can differentiate it to them. First is oppositional defiant disorder. Conduct disorder and oppositional defiant disorder are related to conflicting symptoms with adults and authority figures. Oppositional defiant disorder is less severe and does not involve aggression, property destruction, or theft. It also includes emotional dysregulation problems not included in conduct disorder. Both diagnoses can be given when criteria are met for both disorders. Next is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Although children with ADHD often exhibit hyperactive and impulsive behavior that may be disruptive, this behavior does not itself violate societal norms or the rights of the others and therefore does not usually meet criteria for conduct disorder. When criteria are met both ADHD and conduct disorder, both diagnoses should be given. The next one is intermittent explosive disorder. Both conduct disorder and intermittent explosive disorder involve high rates of aggression. However, the aggression in the individual's intermittent explosive disorder is limited to impulsive aggression and is not premeditated, and it is not committed in order to achieve some tangible objects. Lastly, adjustment disorders. The diagnosis of an adjustment disorder should be considered if clinically significant conduct problems that do not meet the criteria for another specific disorder develop in a clear association with the onset of a psychosocial stressor and do not resolve within 6 months of the termination of the stressor. Comorbidity of conduct disorder. Conduct disorder is common in individuals with ADHD and oppositional defiant disorder, which can lead to worse outcomes. Individuals with antisocial personality disorder often violate basic rights and societal norms, meeting conduct disorder criteria. Conduct disorder may co-occur with mental disorders like specific learning disorder, anxiety, depressive or bipolar disorder, and substance-related disorders. Academic achievement may be below expected, potentially justifying additional diagnosis of specific learning disorder or communication disorder. Now, let's move on to the next topic, which is also related to conduct disorder and antisocial personality disorder. Do you know that famous Michael B. Jordan has pyromania? And now he is recovering from it. Pyromania is said to be an impulse disorder. People with this disorder cannot resist the urge to set fire, even though they knew it was harmful. Their urge makes them anxious, tense, and aroused. These people do not set up fire because of money, to show anger or revenge, and not even to show something. Also, according to WebMD, pyromania is a very rare condition in which 90 people committed arson more than one time. Only 3 of them met the full criteria of pyromania. To further know about pyromania, let's move on to its diagnostic criteria. Diagnostic criteria E. Deliberate and purposeful fire setting on more than one occasion. B. Tension or affective arousal before the act. C. Fascination with, interest in, curiosity about, or attraction to fire and its situational context. D. Pleasure, gratification, or relief when setting fires or when witnessing or participating in their aftermath. E. The fire setting is not done for monetary gain, as an expression of socio-political ideology, to conceal criminal activity, to express anger or vengeance, to improve one's living circumstances in response to a delusion or hallucination, or as a result of impaired judgment. F. Fire-setting is not better explained by conduct disorder, a manic episode, or antisocial personality disorder. Individuals with pyromania may make considerable advanced preparation for starting a fire. They may be indifferent to the consequences to life or property caused by the fire, or they may derive satisfaction from the resulting property destruction. The behaviors may lead to property damage, legal consequences, or injury or loss of life to the fire setters or to others. Individuals who impulsively set fires often have a current or past history of alcohol use disorder. Now, let's move on to the prevalence. Prevalence. The population prevalence of pyromania is not known. The lifetime prevalence of fire-setting behavior, which is just one component of pyromania and not sufficient for diagnosis by itself. It was reported as 1% to 1.1% in a population sample. Fire-setting behavior occurs more often in men than in women. However, whether this also holds true for pyromania is unknown. The most common comorbidities of fire-setting behavior were antisocial personality disorder, substance use disorder, bipolar disorder, and gambling disorder. In contrast to fire-setting, pyromania as a primary diagnosis appears to be very rare, as I said earlier. Among a sample of persons in Finnish hospital reaching the criminal system because of repeated fire-setting, only 3.3% had symptoms that met full criteria for pyromania. In a US study, 3.4% of a sample adults hospitalized for psychiatric reasons had symptoms that met full criteria for current pyromania. Development and course of pyromania. Although data are limited, some research suggests that late adolescence may be the typical age at onset pyromania. The relationship between fire setting in childhood and pyromania in adulthood has not been documented. In individuals with pyromania, fire setting incidents are episodic and may wax and wane in frequency. Longitudinal course is unknown. Although fire setting is a major problem in children and adolescents, pyromania in childhood appears to be rare. Juvenile fire setting is usually associated with conduct disorder, attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, or an adjustment disorder. Sex and gender-related diagnostic issues. While fire setting is associated with antisocial behavior in men and women, they differ on some of the antisocial behaviors that accompany fire setting. Whether this holds for pyromania, which is a subset of those with fire setting, is unknown. Association with suicidal thoughts or behavior. A study of consecutive sample of male fire setters who had a forensic assessment compared each case with for age, sex, and place of birth match controls and found that 539 fire setting was associated during follow-up with higher rates of suicide and also suicide attempt. Whether these differences apply to pyromania is unknown. Differential diagnosis. It is important to rule out other causes of fire setting before giving the diagnosis of pyromania. Intentional fire setting may occur for profit, sabotage, or revenge, to conceal a crime, to make a political statement, or to attract attention or recognition. A separate diagnosis for pyromania is not given when fire setting occurs as a part of conduct disorder, a manic episode, or antisocial personality disorder, or if it is occurs in response to a delusion or hallucination, or is a attribute to the physiological effects of another medical condition. The diagnosis of pyromania should also not be given when fire-setting results from impaired judgment associated with major neurocognitive disorder, intellectual developmental disorder, or substance intoxication. Comorbidity. Depressive disorders, anxiety disorders, and substance use disorders are most commonly comorbid with intermittent explosive disorder. In addition, individuals with antisocial personality disorder or borderline personality disorder and individuals with a history of disorders with disruptive behaviors are at greater risk for comorbid intermittent explosive disorder.
That's all, Psychmates. I hope you learned a lot today. Don't forget to subscribe and like to my channel.